Does anyone remember an old PC game from the early 90s called Mr. Mix? It was mainly a typing game, similar to Mario Teaches Typing, where you have to put words into a box to make a chef, the titular Mr. Mix, place ingredients into a bowl. Unlike the most typing games, however, this game was notorious for having an insane difficulty curve. It had a word per minute requirement for each levels being as low as 10 on level 1 and a high as 85 on a third, and by the level 5 requirement reaches over 500, effectively making it impossible to proceed any further. One of the main things people immediately noticed about the game was the background music. On the first level, it was unsettling pattern of a ground that got progressively louder as the level went on, often causing damage to the early computer speakers that were not designed to handle extremely high volumes. The second level had no music at all. The third had what sounded like a very low quality recording of the hairdryer playing in the background. The remaining two levels had an incredibly loud, high-pitching ringing throughout that caused severe eardrum damage to those who managed to get that far. Another rather disturbing aspect of the game was the design of Mr. Mix himself. He was a large, rounded-faced, overweight man with beady eyes and a red spot on his cheeks. Most children who played the game reported having vivid nightmares of Mr. Mix having to them in a quiet, raspy voice and threatening them to keep quiet about something. However, none of them would remember exactly what that was. One sociologist who saw many of those children reported during disturbing by the sheer amount of terror on their faces as they recounted details of the nightmare. Many of them broke down into tears in the process, begging for their parents to save them. However, no direct relationship to the game itself to determine by those few causes, as not all children suffered the same adverse effects. For some obvious reason, the game did not sell very well. It remained in a relative obscurity until a few years ago when the PC hackers got a hold of the ROM of it and started digging through it. Using memory hacking software, they managed to crack the game's code and bypass the impossible fifth level. What they found, however, was highly disturbing and caused many of them to quit the expedition altogether. According to the reports of those hackers left behind, the game behaves very strangely if the fifth level was bypassed. The game crashes violently and closes, writing a bunch of files to the user's System 32 directly to the point that the ROM was almost completely filled. Those files are reportedly pictures of people with horribly deformed faces appearing to scream in pain and agony, their eyes bleeding from their tear ducts, and their outer layers of torn skin cleaned off in multiple places. If the user attempts to delete these files, the computer will violently crash and blue screen and causing permanent, irreplaceable damage to the hard drive. The hackers found that this was caused by the lone byte in the game's ROM and that triggered when the fifth level was completed. After removing this byte, they were able to proceed to the sixth and final level. Unfortunately, all the original hackers declined to discuss what they saw in the fifth final level. Each of them become extremely paranoid and repulsive afterwards, refusing to talk about anything related to the game and showing astonishingly extreme symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of them caused to be able to form coherent sense within a week, within a month. All of them had gone missing. All remaining copies of the game were destroyed. To this day, no one knows what is in it that caused the group of that so much of a sociological damage. Maybe it was better that way. 2 years after this incident, the man was arrested trying to kidnap an 8-year-old girl from a grocery store. Though DNA and fingerprint analysis, he was identified as one of the original hackers who had viewed the final level of the game. He was wearing white chef's hat and looked at unspeakable malice of the instantly on his face. When interrogated, the man would only said one thing. I am Mr. Mix.